verse 5. So here the flow of thought is, we saw in the first verse what are the urges that one needs to personally control. And if someone wants to control those conditional urges which come up sometime, then they need to lead a lifestyle which helps them control on a regular basis. That lifestyle should be what it should be. That was the verse 2 and 3. The negative side is shown in the verse 2, that is, don't do this, but do this is said in the verse 3. And then the importance of association, because if we have to implement all these things, we need to be in a favorable association. If we want to follow verse 1, 2 and 3 without a proper association, it's not possible. The proper association is part of those verses, and also those were, the association enables us to practice those verses. So now in the association of devotees, we learned what to do, the sixfold exchanges. Okay, can we do those sixfold exchanges with anyone and everyone? Is there particular details? That's what is the verse 5 revealing. How to apply the verse 4, that is the sixfold loving exchanges, appropriately in Vaishnava association. So this verse is not a memorization. For a good news, the first 4 verses are considered as memorization, but this 5th verse is not. So I'll just recite and then explain the meaning and go ahead. Krishneti, okay, I'm not reciting with the meter. Krishneti asya giritam manasadriyeta dikshasti chet pranatibhischa vajantamisham shrushrushaya bhajana vignamananyamanya nindadi shunya hridami pshita sangalatya. So Krishna, let's go to the translation. One should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of Lord Krishna. Krishneti yasya giritam manasa adriyeta. In the mind, one has to honor the devotees who chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation, diksha, and is engaged in worshipping the deity. One should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. So these are the general directions that Srila Rupa Goswami is giving. There is a lot of commentary to this because there are 3 types of devotees being spoken, and who are they and what are they. All those details are given by Srila Prabhupada as well as other acharyas. Sorry. So somebody may say, why you said like devotees are like kind and compassionate and equal, they have an equal vision, then why is Rupa Goswami asking me to discriminate? Okay, don't offer obeisance to this person, or offer obeisances to this person, don't associate with this person. Why there's so much mental gymnastics going on here? Like, why is this so much discrimination? So someone may think. So Srila Prabhupada says, in order to intelligently apply the sixfold loving reciprocations mentioned in the previous verse, one must select proper persons with careful discrimination. Because those sixfold loving reciprocations cannot be done without discrimination. Because I cannot just go and open up confidential subject matters in anyone and everyone. I need to really know intelligently who is the right person to do that, who will help me in my spiritual life. So one must select proper persons with careful discrimination. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore advises that we should meet with the Vaishnavas in an appropriate way according to their particular status. So we need to respect people according to their particular status in an appropriate way. In this verse, he tells us how to deal with 3 types of devotees. Srila Prabhupada, in this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami has advised us how to treat various devotees. So in this verse, Prabhupada is writing all these statements. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami advises the devotee to be intelligent enough to distinguish between 3 types of people. This is the first time the terminology is used. Kanistadi, Madhyamadikari, and Uttamadikari. Adhikari is someone who is, who's qualified for devotional service. So Kanishta Adhikari is someone who is, Adhikar is qualification. who has the qualification or who's practicing bhakti, you can say. Kanishta Adhikari is someone who is a beginner. Madhyama is someone who is certain level of spiritual advancement. Midway, literally speaking, Madhyama is middle. Uttama is the highest level of perfection this person has achieved. So the understanding of these words we will see in the future slides. The devotee should also know his own position. So judging others are very easy. Sometimes we might be mistaken, but we also need to know, like, awareness starts with the self, because to judge others we also need to know who we are. So it takes one to know other person, they say. So the devotee should also know his own position, otherwise he will create a big mess of his spiritual life in trying to judge others. And one should not try to imitate a devotee situated on a higher platform. One is not knowing one's own position. Most of the times, that is not that we undermine our position, most of the times we overestimate our position, think high of ourselves. That's the general problem with a person who's trying to practice, especially one who's new. And because he will overjudge himself by thinking himself of very high of himself, he will try to imitate someone who is actually on a higher platform. So both these things problem can happen. That's why one needs to know his own position. Then he will also be, in general, principally, he will know the other people. Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes for this verse. He says the fifth verse defines how a Madhyama should behave with devotees. Because if you remember, I mentioned an overview of Nectar of Instruction in two perspectives. One is, I mentioned this, the first 7 verses are Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, 8th verse is Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, and 9, 10, 11 is Prema Bhakti. I mentioned one overview of the book like this. And I also mentioned another overview given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. How does he view the book? He views the whole book as how a Madhyamadhikari practices and advances and perfects. What are his dealings? So the first, he said Madhyama's qualification is he control his senses. What is his lifestyle is verse 2 and 3. And how is his association? How does he behave in association is verse 4. Verse 5 is how he specifically behaves with different kinds of people. Because he is on a certain level of spiritual advancement, he does not bow down to another person who is junior. He bow down to someone who is equal like him, and he offers more respect to someone who is senior to him. So in that perspective, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is trying to analyze this verse as how a Madhyama should behave with devotees. This is how he says. However, his commentary is not always focused on that. He gives various perspectives within his commentary. So these are the 3 types of devotees. Kanishta is the neophyte or the beginner. Madhyama is the intermediate. Uttama is the advanced. So these are the 3 categories of devotees that we will be seeing. So Srila Prabhupada's purport I have presented as points in this one slide. This slide summarizes the whole purport of Srila Prabhupada. So the purport is quite long. That's why I had to do this. So if you had already done a single first reading, you'll be able to follow very easily. Otherwise, please take your time to keep reading these verses as every week passes by. It'll be easy. Otherwise, to read the whole book at the end, to give the difficult closed booked exam will be very difficult, will be hectic for you. So please read every week so that it'll be easy for you to grasp things. So for the verse 5, Prabhupada starts with the purpose of the verse. And I also posted the notes that I made for this verse in the classroom. So if you check that, pretty much I follow the same line of thought. The purpose of the verse is what first revealed by Srila Prabhupada. What does he say? He says, I already read those slides. In order to intelligently apply those 6 loving exchanges in the association of devotees, we need to know. We need to discriminate, and we need to know who we are. Then we can understand who are the others and how to deal with them. And that's why Srila Prabhupada then specifies what are the 3 levels of devotees, and he defines them. He says Kanishta is a neophyte who has received the initiation. He has just started. He's trying to chant the holy name. He is not perfected or he is not comfortable. He's just trying. He's struggling. one should respect such a person within his mind. He is a Kanishta. So this is from a perspective of a Madhyama who has already established a good amount of ability in chanting Hare Krishna. He is seeing the other person, oh, this is a person struggling in chanting holy name. So he is a Kanishta. So then now I need to know whether am I struggling in my chanting or I am like happy in my chanting, what I need to judge for myself. So if I'm already struggling, then I don't have any problem. I don't need to judge anyone. I know everybody else is higher than me and I can be respectful. That's one thing. A Madhyama is one who has received, he has also received spiritual initiation, but he is fully engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. This fully does not mean in terms of where you live, or you live in a temple or you're working outside. That fully is not this fully. This fully is fully his heart, his consciousness. External fully also can be there, but does not qualify. Just because someone lives in the temple does not qualify them as Madhyama. Rather, this fully is the fully hearted, full heart. With all his energy, with all his emotions, with all his heart, he is trying to engage in the service of the Lord. The Madhyamadhikari should be considered to be situated in midway, and Uttamadhikari is not interested in blaspheming others. Nindya, Anya Nindadi Shunyam. That is the definition Srila Rupa Goswami say. How do you understand who is a person who is advanced? His heart is clean. He does not find faults with others. Especially, he can see the faults of others. Okay. If there is a time, I'll post a commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This comes in the Daksha Lord Shiva episode of Srimad Bhagavatam. He quotes three categories of people who see faults and how they deal with. It's a different story. Here we are seeing a Uttamadhikari. He does not, one level of Uttamadhikari is he does not see any fault in anyone. Everybody is perfect. He is really Avadut. The other level is they see, but they will do it in such a way that this can help the other person. That's what we are here trying to see. He may even see what is the other person is doing wrong, but still he will not blaspheme. He will not take pleasure in calling it out and going and propagating it, putting a Facebook post or an Instagram post on what are the others' mistakes or faults or anything like that. He does not take pleasure in others' problems, so that he has attained the realized state of unalloyed Krishna consciousness, and his own consciousness, he is very highly Krishna conscious. So this is how Prabhupada, three levels he defines. The third point I'm going to discuss, advancing from Kanishta to Madhyama. That is the focus of the purport of Srila Prabhupada. He assumes that he is speaking to a Kanishta. So when I read the purport of Srila Prabhupada, I see, okay, I'm a Kanishta. Srila Prabhupada is trying to instruct me. In that mode, Prabhupada writes the rest of the purport. He is saying, the reader, or he is trying to advise a Kanishta how he has to advance to Madhyama, because Madhyama is the safest platform. The safest platform is, of course, Prema and Bhava and Prema, but still for a practicing devotee, Kanishta is not a safe platform. Coming to the level of Madhyama is the safe platform. That's why Srila Prabhupada is saying all Kanishta devotees as quickly as possible come to Madhyama level. That's why the rest of the purport is focused on how we can come to the state of Madhyama. And what is how to deal with the three types of devotees still in the course of advancement. How do we advance to the state of Madhyama? The easiest and the foolproof method, or the only method also we can say, is the chanting the holy name. He says the only sure path to advance from Kanishta to Madhyama to Uttama. Prabhupada speaks about that, chanting the holy name, throughout the purport. And he also says about the process of Diksha and accepting spiritual master. He explains, because if you have to chant, get the mantra from a guru. So that is one thing. How without offenses chanting the holy names, accepted from the spiritual master, one advances from Kanishta, Madhyama to Madhyama, Uttama. Prabhupada explains that. And then he again gives a summary of the whole verse and restates the purpose of the verse. And he says, out of the three, the best is Uttamadhikari, to be a guru. So you can read the Prabhupada purports. I'll also touch upon them as I go through other slides. So there are three classifications to consider who's Kanishta, who's Madhyama, and who's Uttama. So not to confuse, there are three types of devotees. Who are they? Beginner, intermediate, and perfected. So these are the three types of devotees. But how do I classify who's who? Or I don't want to classify the world. How do I classify myself? How do I understand who am I? So for that, there are three classifications. How do I understand which platform I am in? I need to see these three classification, three parameters, I would say, or parameters. One is one's faith and knowledge in scriptures. And the second is the ability to chant the holy name. The third is the ability to deal with other devotees. So the ability to deal with the Lord in the form of holy name, the ability to deal with the Lord in the form of scriptures, and the ability to deal with the Lord through his devotees. So it is basically one's ability to deal with the Lord in various capacities. Personally, directly through the holy name, through the knowledge that he has revealed, where he is also non-different from. And Krishna says his paraphernalia is non-different from him. And out of all the paraphernalias, his devotees are the most important paraphernalia. Lord Shiva also says, Tadiyanam Samarchanam. So he says, out of all the paraphernalias of Lord Krishna or Vishnu, the most favorite paraphernalia of Krishna is his devotees. So our ability to deal with Krishna and his paraphernalia defines us whether we are Kanishta, Uttama, or Madhyama. So since this is kind of a technical, so I can actually take questions or clarifications if required here, because once we cross this, then it's going to be more verses and like that. So if you want to ask anything at this point of time, we can. In regards to Uttama, Madhyama, and Kanishta, and these three categories. If there is any clarification, if I wasn't clear, please ask. Yes, Agape.
Yeah, so I'd really love that resource. If you shared that resource you were talking about with the 3 levels of fault finding,
Oh, okay.
because when it comes to Uttama Adhikaris, I know at one point it says that an Uttama Adhikari is one who can bring many, turn many souls into Vaishnavas. But I mean, there are some higher level souls who I don't know if you'd still call it fault finding, but they point out a lot of things wrong with the way different devotees act or different things with the system. So where does that fall under fault finding?
Okay. So you are asking when devotees are trying to do maybe specifically outreach in different ways?
Like whenever like advanced devotees are, who I would think would be an Uttama Adhikari, are preaching, they're preaching and pointing out, faults within the community, within devotees, even non-devotees, just like talking about things that need to be changed. So
Okay. There are a lot of sensitivities in this. There is no, I can't like really clearly pinpoint, but there are some principles I can surely share. When a guru or a spiritual personality speaks or finds faults within a material culture, material person, country, or something like that, and tries to, in order to teach his followers, that's not a problem. Because if you see Shukadeva Goswami, he's just thrashing materialistic people in Srimad Bhagavatam, left, right, center. He just calls all bad names, actually. And here, you can say Shukadeva Goswami is actually fault finder. But there, the purpose is we also have materialistic tendencies. So when we hear that, we get called out. So we feel so awkward. Like before Shukadeva Goswami, I'm a rascal, actually. So that feeling of discomfort and that uneasiness actually makes us detach from those tendencies within our own hearts. So he is a guru who is instructing his readers. So when I just receive that knowledge, I feel that discomfort. If that discomfort makes me give up those things that he is calling out, it helps me give up easily if I'm sincere, and it creates certain level of detachment from those things. Say for example, I watch movies and then I listen a lecture where a devotee is just calling out mundane movies like anything, and then he says how it's a waste of time and how it's like this, that. I may be like, this is a fanatic thing and all those things, but in the heart of heart, what has happened is this devotee has sown a seed of doubt about the mundane movies in my heart. So I won't be able to next time watch like happily. I'll be like, either I'll have guilt or I'll be like asking someone, oh, why I cannot watch, or something will happen there. So that is why when devotees actually speak strongly, for our own personal benefit, we should take it because it can actually, it's an operation, it can actually cure our material attachments. So in that perspective, we need to take. If it is, if when you read, when you hear some strong lectures, apply personally. Then the next level is, if two advanced devotees, they kind of say, okay, how Prabhupada's mission should be organized or something like that, that is up to them. If it is directly affecting us, then we need to go to our seniors and take guidance. We are nobody to judge either of them on our own capacity. And what is the third thing that you asked?
So yeah, I don't remember a third thing, but I guess more so on the internal when talking about devotees, like just pointing
And you
out.
mentioned about non-devotees, communities within the devotee community, either a specific individual or like a community. So yeah, means if someone really wants to help and set things right, there are various ways of doing it sensitively. So it needs to be done. Sometimes some things may not be done sensitively. So we just need to know whether it helps me in by hearing these things, or it does not help me, then I can stay away from that.
That's very helpful. Thank you so much.
So recapping whatever we saw in the 5th verse so far, there are 3 levels of devotees, who's Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttama, and how to identify for one's own sake, or even to know in general about others. There are 3 criteria. One is one's ability to chant the holy name, one's faith and knowledge in scriptures, one's ability to deal with devotees in specific or other and people in general. So let's get into the classification based on faith and scriptural knowledge. This is Madhya Lila Chaitanya Charitamrit. Here it is said, how do you actually classify devotees based on their faith in scriptures? So Shraddha Anjana Hai Bhakti Adhikari Uttama Madhyama Kanishta Shraddha Anusari. A faithful devotee is truly a eligible candidate for the loving service of the Lord. According to one's faith, one is classified as topmost, intermediate, and inferior. What is this faith? We are just saying faith, but what is this faith will be explored. Yahara Komala Shraddha, okay, Yahara Komala Shraddha Seka Nishtajan, Krame Krame Teho Bhaktaha Ive Uttam. One whose faith is soft and pliable is called a neophyte, but by gradually following the process, he will rise to the platform of faith, first class devotee. And the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu says, one whose faith is not very strong, who's just beginning, should be considered a neophyte devotee. This faith is based, his faith and knowledge, on the scriptures. That is what is being discussed here. Mainly this faith and this knowledge is his ability to put complete faith and conviction based on scriptures. Because we all initially, when we try to practice, we have certain doubts. Why this, why not? We don't have certain philosophical clarity. So all those things affect our ability to practice. We hear somebody say something, then we fall into doubt. Oh, is it really the right path to follow? Why not this? Why not? Why this way? Why not that? Why Hare Krishna mantra in this way? Why not Hare Rama? Because I had someone say that. So all these kind of various things come up, because the more we know scriptures, then it becomes very clear for us easily. So the qualities of a Madhyamadhikari is Shastra Yukti nahi jane Dridha Shraddhavan Madhyamadhikari se Mahabhagyavan. In terms of faith and scriptural knowledge, this person will be called as a Madhyamadhikari. He may not be Shastra Yukti, he may not be an expert in argument and logic. He may not be able to defeat another person in argument and logic, but his own personal faith in scriptures is very firm, cannot be disturbed just because he lost an argument with another person. This person may not be able to convince another person, scripturally speaking, but it does not mean he gets shaken in his faith. Whereas neophyte, he will attempt. If he is unable to convince the opposite person, he will fall into a great despair. Like he will say, oh, probably like this doesn't work or something like that. So that is the difference between a beginner and a intermediate devotee. His own firm faith cannot be disturbed. but he may not be always able to expertly convince others based on the scriptural logic. So he who does not know scriptural argument very well, but who has firm faith, is called an intermediate or second class devotee. One may go and try to present others, and sometimes it may be successful. Sometimes the opposite person may be like much more logical, or can just bewilder this person, and he's like, okay, he couldn't answer properly or something. Still, his own personal practice will not be affected. He will only think, oh, I should probably learn better and take guidance and become better at this. He will not think, oh, this process does not work. The quality of Uttam Adhikari based on faith and scriptural knowledge. The thing is, a person may be a Kanishta in one area, a Madhyama in another area, and a Uttama in another area. That's why there are 3 different classifications based on 3 different things. Even the scriptures actually conveniently categorize 3 different categories, because it's not like black and white. Neither is to judge it for others or anything like that. It is for our own understanding that are we making progress. शास्त्रयुक्तेषु निपुण दृढ़ श्रद्धायान्र उत्तम अधिकारी से तारय samsara. One who is expert in logic, argument, and the revealed scriptures. He's not just expert. His firm faith is so strong, he can actually deliver the whole world. So he is considered a Uttamadhikari. One who is expert in logic and understanding the revealed scriptures, and who always has firm conviction and deep faith that is not blind, because he has pratyaksha vagamam dharmyam. A pure devotee's faith is not shabda, is pratyaksha. For a practicing devotee, okay, how do you know Krishna is there? Bhagavad Gita says so. Because his shraddha is Shastriya shraddha. But for a pure devotee, Prabhupada asks, do you see God? Prabhupada says, yes, I see God. But the journalist thought Prabhupada will say, based on scriptures, is that, do you see God? Prabhupada says, yes, I see God. Means, I really mean, do you see God? He says, yes, I see God. What more do you want me to know? And he says, how do I know? He says, you asked me, I told yes. Now you become qualified to test me whether I said yes or no. Means whether I said true or false, you become qualified. So you also can actually see God and verify if I'm able to see God, but you get qualified. So Srila Prabhupada confidently said, yes, I see God. So for a pure devotee, it is pratyaksha vagamam dharmyam. It's actually, he is seeing with his own sensory perception. God is not a matter of faith. God is not a matter of shastriya shraddha. When a person advances to this level, he can actually see Krishna. So his faith is deep, and that is not blind, and it's so strong it can actually convince others. And we can see Srila Prabhupada is like an obvious example for this. So these are the 3 ways of classifying devotees based on their faith in and knowledge in scriptures. Now, ability to deal with the devotees are others. So this is also Chaitanya Leela, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela. रति प्रेम तारतम्य भक्त तारतम एकादश स्कंदे तारकारियाचे लक्षण. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita mentions this, but this thing is actually coming from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto. The Nimi is speaking to Navayogendras. In that section it comes. Archayameva hare pujam ya shraddhaye hate tad bhakteshu chanyeshu savakta prakrita smrita. A devotee who faithfully engages in the worship of the devotee in the temple, but does not behave properly toward other devotees or people in general, is called a prakrita bhakta, a materialistic devotee, and is considered to be in the lowest position. So this person is initiated, probably second initiated, because he is also worshipping the deities, and he is very faithful in his engagement. He follows rules and regulations. He is very sincere, but he is unable to behave the same careful way with other devotees or people in general. If he can't actually behave properly with devotees, forget about dealing with people in general, because it's very easy to externally just go outside and be kind to new people. But the test is, when those new people actually become regular people, do you have the same ability to deal with them? That actually shows our ability. The real phase of dealing with new people is how we deal with regular people. So our ability to deal with other devotees and or people in general is not, for a person, when it is not there, then he is considered a kanishta. An intermediate person, as I explained in the previous verse also. Ishvare tad adineshu. He gives his love to the Supreme Lord. Bali Sheshu Dusatsucha Prema Maitri Kripa Paksha Ya Karoti Samadhyama. With Ishvara he does prema, love for the Lord. Maitri, friendship, tad adhineshu. Who's adhineshu? Everybody is adhineshu. Everybody is under Krishna's control. But devotees are specifically under Krishna's control, and Krishna is specifically under their control. Tad adhineshu is that Ishvara is under their control. Whose control under? Krishna is under. Ishvara is what? Controller. Tad adineshu. You can either say those who are under the control of the Lord. That means everything is under the control of the Lord. But here the specific meaning is that supreme controller is under the control of some people. Who are they? They are devotees. So he gives his friendship to those people who even control the Supreme Lord. That is devotees. Bali Sheshu, childish people. That means innocent. Kripa, he gives mercy to innocent people. Upeksha is neglect. He gives dvishatsu. Those who are envious of Krishna, then he keeps distance from them. Indifference or neglect. So a person who can perfectly follow this and has a proper judgment to loving the Lord, not loving the things of the world, not loving having material attachments, friendship with devotees, mercy to innocent people, and indifference towards envious people. So one who can actually judge this rightly is a person who is on the platform of intermediate devotional service. The intermediate devotee is the one who has these qualifications. The qualities of a Uttama Adhikari is Sarva Bhuteshu Yapashyed Bhagavad Bhavam Atmana Bhutani Bhagavati Atmani Yesha Bhagavatottama. A person advanced in devotional service sees within everything the soul of all souls, the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. Consequently, he always sees the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the cause of all causes and understands that all things are situated in him. So one who is this level of Uttama is just sees Krishna everywhere, not theoretically, practically. With his two eyes, wherever he looks, he only sees Krishna. He is considered a Uttama as per this definition. And what does he see? He only sees Krishna everywhere, so he does not discriminate. He does not understand this person is in Maya, this person is a devotee. No, for him, everything is Krishna. So that is why this person cannot preach. The Madhyamadhikari, he has to come to the level of Madhyamadhikari to preach. So Srila Prabhupada, Uttamadhikari, but to come to preach in this world, he has to step down and see this. He has to call people fools and rascals. He has to say who's right, who's wrong. Because as an Uttamadhikari, he will not be able to do that. So that is why, for the sake of preaching, these advanced devotees come down so that they can actually preach. Sorry. So this is the classification based on ability to deal with other devotees. So the Uttama is one who sees Krishna everywhere. So there is no discrimination only. He sees Krishna everywhere. So he's on the absolute level. The next level is the intermediate devotee. He gives his love to Krishna, friendship to devotees, mercy to innocent people, and indifference to envious people. Kanishta is one who has so much faith in the Lord, worships him very sincerely, but does not know how to deal with either devotees or people in general. And Prabhupada, if you read his purport, he says the Kanishta is not useful for preaching, because preaching means first ability to deal properly. If one does not know how to deal properly with people, then his preaching will be short-lived or sometimes can backfire also. So then the last one of the very important classifications is ability to chant holy name. Prabhu kahe andra mukhe suni ekabar Krishna nama se puja sreshta sabakar. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, whoever chants the holy name of Krishna even once, he should be considered a Vaishnava. Ateva andra mukhe eka Krishna nam se ta Vaishnava karihata hara samman. He says, even if that person chanted Hare Krishna once, he should be considered a Vaishnava and offered all respects. So this is the definition of a Kanishta. He chants even once. So that means It's not that, oh, I chanted once, offer me obeisances. Not like that. This person accidentally chanted once and he went on about his life. So even that person, he should be considered a Vaishnava. Qualities of a Kanistadikari based on this is that it knows that Krishna's holy name brings all auspiciousness and chants to create auspiciousness for himself. So the next level of Kanishta is, say you go out on a Sankirtan, someone chants, they also chant, they go away. We can respect them also as Vaishnava. However, specifically speaking, a person who has taken initiation, who knows Krishna's name brings all auspiciousness, and he is trying to chant, but his attitude is he chants to create auspiciousness for himself. He is more concerned about his personal deliverance through the chanting. He sees holy name is here to deliver me. He is my personal, yeah, Krishna has come personally to each every one of us in the form of the holy name to deliver, but he can only see that. He cannot see anything more than that. He is too super self-absorbed. So the other criteria is for the qualities of a Madhyamadhikari. Krishna nama nirantara yahar vadane se Vaishnava shreshta bhajatahara charane. A person who is always chanting the holy name of the Lord is to be considered a first class Vaishnava, and your duty is to serve his lotus feet. A person who's always chanting, the Kanishta is more concerned about himself, and so because he has selfish motives, his chanting is going to have breaks, interruptions. But a person who has actually come to a certain level of relationship with the holy name, he always chants. He's considered a madhyam. Just imagine, madhyam itself is such a high definition. You just feel like there is no chance even for madhyam because he's always chanting. But according to this definition, this is madhyam. So qualities of a Madhyamadhikari is like Kanishta is devoted solely to the holy name, but he is compassionate. But by chanting Krishna's holy name continuously, his chanting is transformed into transcendental service. That chanting has manifested in transcendental service to the Lord, to the devotees, to people in general, in all ways. And by such ongoing service, he step by step becomes free from the clutches of anartha, of experiencing himself to be the dead matter. That means he's completely given up the identification with body. And he establishes a loving relationship with the Lord through his chanting. And by ongoing cultivation with the holy name, he can realize his own swarupa, his own transcendental nature. So up till this level, based on the holy chanting, ability to chant holy name, the level of realizing swarupa is also in Madhyamadhikari. Means what is saved for a Uttamadhikari then? So Uttamadhikari, according to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is just by looking at this person, others should start chanting. Nothing, nothing else. Just by looking at this person, everybody else should start chanting Hare Krishna. That is the considered as a Uttamadhikari. Yahara darshane mukhe aise Krishna naam tahare jani hatumi Vaishnava pradhan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said a first class Vaishnava is he whose very presence makes others chant the holy name of Krishna. So Kramakari kahe Prabhu Vaishnava Lakshan Vaishnava Tarara Vaishnavatam. So he explained who's a Vaishnava, who is Vaishnavatara, and who is Vaishnavatama. The same is explained in the commentary I was mentioning also. There it is, yeah, there also it's the same Vaishnavatara and Vaishnavatama is used in a different context. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained three categories: Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttama. If you see, even the Kanishta is a Vaishnava, but a Madhyama is a Vaishnavatara is higher, but Vaishnavatama, the highest Vaishnava, is the Uttama. So these are the three classifications based on faith and one's scriptural knowledge, one's ability to chant the holy name, and one's ability to deal with the devotees. So these are the three categories we saw. In faith, if someone's faith is so pliable, so soft, he is considered Kanishta. If someone may not be able to conquer others in argument, but their own faith is firm, then they are considered Madhyama. If somebody can conquer others also in logic and also establish Bhakti in the others' hearts through their knowledge, then he is considered Uttama. Chanting of the holy name, we just saw. Kanishta is one who is concerned more about his personal welfare and his chanting is interrupted. Madhyama is someone who chants continuously and he is developing a relationship with Krishna and establishing Swarupa. Uttama is someone, just by his mere presence, others are inspired to chant Hare Krishna. Dealing with the devotees, one who worships deities sincerely but does not know how to deal with other devotees, they are Kanishta. And Madhyama gives his love to the Lord, friendship with the devotees, mercy to innocent, and indifference to envious. Uttama is one who just sees Krishna everywhere. So there are more details about Kanishta, Uttama, and Madhyama, and all these three of them. It's a lot of slides, so let's try to keep it within time. So we already saw Kanishta worships deity, but he is not aware of the Lord's all-pervading effect. That's why his respect is only to the deities. He cannot see the same Lord is present everywhere. Like the Uttama can see the Lord everywhere, he cannot see. And he becomes very puffed up by his ability to worship the deities or dress the deities or make turban, and all these things actually gets into his head. So the Kanishta entire knowledge of the Lord is limited to the deity. Where is Krishna? In the temple room. I go, then I'm like, oh, I'm going before the Lord. Otherwise, I'm not so much conscious of the Lord's presence. So this is the consciousness of a Kanishta. And that is why there is a difference between Archana and Bhajana. Archana is one who worships. Because he only sees in the deity, so he only can worship when he goes before the deities. But Bhajan is someone who can continuously do. If someone wants to do bhajan, that means he should be able to realize Krishna's presence in everything and everyone, or at least be more conscious. Only then this person can do bhajan, because holy name also he can do bhajan. We may say, oh, I'm doing bhajan, but our bhajan can only come to that level when we come to the stage of madhyam at least. So thinks very highly of himself. This is a Kanishta's problem. He thinks very high of himself, so he won't be able to respect others. His inability to respect is coming from thinking very highly of himself. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Trinadapi Sunichena. First is one thinks lowly of himself, then they will be able to give respect to others and also not expect respect. So, but if a Kanishta thinks very highly of himself, he can't respect others, and he also thinks others should respect him. So that is the attitude of a Kanishta. And infatuated by the material qualifications of so-called materialistic persons. So either he sees material qualifications in devotees and respects them based on their material qualifications, and that actually leads him to go astray by seeing those material qualifications that he appreciates in the outside world also, and then he gets distracted by that. Say, for example, someone is very tuned to how someone sings, and he will see a devotee who is able to sing nicely, he respects them. Someone who can't sing nicely, he disrespects them. And that tendency to hear good voice will drag him to the outside world also and make him appreciate those who can sing better, even if they are non-devotees and singing mundane things. He will have some appreciation for them because of their skills in singing. So that is why we need to be very careful about judging devotees based on their skills, because it does not only create problem within the association for us, it will also lead us to outside the association gradually, because we are offending the devotees based on those materialistic skills by judging them. That offense will push us outside the association. And he might very super enthusiastic Krishna as a supreme lord, so he may disrespect demigods without understanding proper philosophical knowledge. See, worshipping demigods, respecting demigods, these are two different things. Krishna and we don't say Krishna and demigods are equal. We neither have to disrespect them. So this balance, this maturity comes for a Madhyamadikari. A Kanishta will disrespect without understanding how to respect. So since Kanishta cannot respect even devotees properly, what to speak of non-devotees? So therefore not useful for practical preaching, and cannot understand the glories of devotees, cannot appreciate devotees, the wealth of having devotees in one's life and devotional service indirectly. So Kanishtadikari's lack of appreciation for the paraphernalia of the Lord means to be like one way, he will dress the deities very nicely, but he will just throw things away that is used in the worship of the deities. That is one level you can see, because that is an immediate paraphernalia. He cannot deal with the paraphernalia very neatly clean. He's more concerned about how the turban looks, But how the organization looks, he is not so concerned. How the kitchen is clean is not so much concerned, but what comes out of the kitchen is more of a concern. So that is a Kanishta mentality. However, this is one level of paraphernalia. And the next level of paraphernalia is devotees. The ultimate paraphernalia of the Lord is devotees. So he cannot deal with the Lord's most important paraphernalia, devotees. That is why he lacks appreciation for the paraphernalia of the Lord. So there's another statement. Typically, Kanishta Adhikari is eager to engage his own material expertise in devotees. Say, if, for example, I have some skills coming from the regular life. It may not be inherently devotional skills. It may be singing, it may be dancing, it may be arts, painting, technical abilities, anything. He's too eager to, if he wants to do a devotional service, he will do that only first. He will not think of chanting Hare Krishna sincerely, hearing the holy name, reading scriptures. Can I get to paint? Can I get to sing, lead the kirtan? Can I do this? Can I do it? Because that is what is the expertise he is identifying with the body and mind. So that is what he thinks he is. So he will be too eager to actually engage those material expertise first. It's nothing wrong in engaging our expertise. We have to dovetail all the talents that we have in Krishna's service. So what we are trying to say is not to engage our, we are not saying don't engage your talents in Krishna service. We are saying don't think that as an alternative to chanting and hearing Krishna's names and reading scriptures or associating with the devotees. Our material expertise, engaging it in Krishna service, cannot be an alternative to the core activities of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vishnu Smaranam, all those things. So that is the idea. So Kanishta Adhikari can help ordinary living, even those Kanishta Adhikaris can help ordinary living entities by their association. And the more they advance, they will understand who's inimical that they need to stay away from, who's innocence that they can give their association to, who's a devotee who they need to develop friendship. So when they gradually understand, then they come to the stage of Madhyam Adhikari. So my God, Kanishta itself is not ending. Those who go to the temples of the Lord and offer worshipful respect to the deity without sufficient knowledge in the theological science and therefore without any respect for the devotees of the Lord are called materialistic devotees. So if you see, this definition is in the perspective of not the devotee who's worshipping the deities. There are devotees, there are deities in the temple. An outside person comes. He has faith to come to the temple. He knows the deity is the Supreme Lord. He has that much faith. But when he comes, because he does not have sufficient understanding about the theological science of how the same Lord who is everywhere is in the deities and how the devotees are dear to the deities, he does not understand these things. So all he has to do with, he comes straight, goes to the deities, puts his donation, does this 3 times, and then turns and walks away. He does not look around, oh, why are these people spending all their time here? What are they doing? Who dresses these deities? Why, how much details is put in this dress? Nothing. They will just come 3 times. They will do, especially if you see some Indians, like sometimes they'll just come, they'll think as if there is no one here. They'll just come. All they have to give and take is with the Lord. They'll put some donation 3 times, turn and just not stop, straight out, exit. They will not speak to people. They don't want to connect to anyone. So they have, it's because they don't have a theological science, but they have the faith that the Lord is here and the deity, but they don't have the theological science and respect for the devotees. So that is also one level of Kanishta. And then finally we are into Madhyam Adhikari. So the intermediate devotee is one who sincerely endeavors to perform bhajan. So that why I'm including all these is, there is no box that one acharya only says one thing. The same acharya gives so many definitions. They are very accommodative at times, they are very strict at times. So we need to see all the definitions to have clarity. Here, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving to the intention. So far we saw knowledge in scriptures, ability to chant holy name, that is also faith, and ability to deal with others. But person may be falling short, but he may be very sincere. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is giving that benefit of doubt. If one who sincerely endeavors to perform bhajan, he may not be already performing perfectly, but he's sincerely endeavoring. That all of us can do. That everybody can do. Sincere endeavor can be done by everyone. So that's why he is allowing everyone to come to the stage of Madhyama by giving this definition. Because Bhaktivinoda Thakur said this, Krishna is obliged to consider one who is sincerely endeavoring as a Madhyamadikari. So these acharyas are our hope because they can accommodate us more than Krishna. So this fifth verse indicates how Madhyama devotees, I already presented this, how Madhyama devotees should behave toward the topmost class of devotees. Because a Madhyama deals with new person, he offers mental obeisances. With equal, he offers obeisances. But with the Uttama, he has to really take shelter. That's what is mentioned in this verse. Because he is already Madhyama, he is already quite good. So he may think, oh, I love the Lord, I have friendship with devotees, I am merciful to new people, and I am averse from indifferent people. So where is the like how do you deal with the senior? Because even a Madhyama has a senior who is Uttama. So that is why Bhaktivinoda Thakur is specifically saying the Madhyama devotee should behave how he should behave with the topmost class of devotees. So that is also mentioned here. He doesn't see everything internally and externally with equal vision like Uttamadikari. He theoretically knows Krishna is present everywhere, and to some extent he can follow it. But he does not have a pratyaksha vision. He cannot really see Krishna everywhere, wherever he sees. So that is also a sign of a Madhyama. If he imitates Uttama, but if he falsely thinks, oh, I also can deal with people being aware of Krishna's presence, if he falsely imitates Uttama, then he will ultimately, unlike, he is very likely to fall down because he is losing discrimination. If you remember, the purpose of this verse is to give discrimination. But as soon as this person artificially steps up and says, okay, Krishna is everywhere, so I'm going to deal in that platform, without qualification, he loses his discrimination, then the purpose is lost. So because you lost discrimination, the person can make mistakes. So the devotees who have developed a mentality of genuine service to the Lord and who thus make friendships only with similar devotees, show favor to neophytes and avoid the atheists, are called second-grade devotees. There's another place where Srila Prabhupada mentions who is a Madhyama. According to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, although a Madhyama is eager to preach, he should avoid atheistic class of men. Because sometimes the Madhyamadikari is the preacher. Out of the three categories, Madhyama is the preacher. Because Kanishta cannot behave with people properly. Uttama, wherever he sees, he only sees Krishna. So they both cannot preach effectively. The Madhyama is the one who is supposed to preach effectively. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying, even though he is an enthusiastic preacher, he should not go to atheistic people and think, oh, I'll just convert them, because he can be smashed and he can be actually discouraged. So if somebody is not ready, give them the time, keep your distance. Don't think you're a Superman and convert anyone and everyone and want to show to the world that I'm this most powerful Acharya or anything like that. Don't have those kind of false notions and overstep and mess up things. So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is saying, a Vaishnava should be indifferent to those who are envious of the Supreme Lord. Because we may say, oh, how can one be indifferent? So it is practically seen that when such persons are informed, why we should be indifferent is when we inform the glories of the Supreme Lord, then they try to ridicule the Supreme Lord. So that thereby they are committing offenses. So we should not increase their distance with Krishna by unnecessarily introducing them to esoteric stuff. So the more things about Madhyamadikari, keep distance from envious, but meditate on plans to save them. Because as soon as you say keep distance from people, we can become indifferent. So the Acharya is saying keep a distance, but plan to save them also. Make ways how indirectly they also can come to Krishna. Maybe you can give prasad, you can make plan ways. If you're a real preacher, you know this person is not ready, but in your heart, you're not going to give up on them. In your own time, you will meditate how to bring these people. So if I had time, I would recount Prabhupada's pastimes. Like Prabhupada was sometimes shedding tears. How can we make these people devotees? Just having really tears. So such meditation is called sadachar. Means if you want to behave properly, then that means you may be friendly with the devotees, innocent, merciful to innocent, but we also need to make plans to bring non-devotees to Krishna consciousness. That is sadachar. And Jiva Goswami gives the example of Prahlad Maharaj. He was also meditating on welfare of all kinds of people. He was saying Because unless there is a person who's vimukha, who's actually turned his face away from you, I don't want to go to the spiritual world. I want to stay here and sing your glories and preach. As long as there is this last person who has turned his face away from you, I want everyone to come to you. So that is the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. So meditate on welfare, but not associate with unreceptive people without discrimination. So discrimination in terms of you associating with them, but there is no discrimination in trying to create welfare activities for them, like how they can come to Krishna. Discrimination of a Madhyama is not lack of mercy. I hope I'm presenting these statements in the hope that you all can have questions like, oh, discrimination, you are supposed to be merciful, then why do you discriminate? That question may be there. That's why I'm putting this statement here. Discrimination of a Madhyamadikari is not lack of mercy, because he is making plans to bring them to bhakti. It is best to simply to avoid potential offenders and thus prevent them from committing further sinful activities against the Vaishnavas. Indifference from the preacher checks feelings of hostility on both sides. You keep safe distance, healthy distance, then they also don't disturb you, you also don't disturb them. When the right time comes, they also can come to Krishna. So discrimination of a Madhyama is not lack of mercy. We saw the details about that. Foolish concept of equal vision and mercy. So we cannot have like a naive concept of equal vision, just go to the street and just give the same thing to anyone and everyone in the same way. That does not work, and sometimes it antagonizes. I honestly feel like, okay, I don't want to speak about others. There are sometimes people standing in the corner of the street, like really yelling and saying so many things, which I don't think who will feel comfortable and come and hear you. I just don't understand. But these are sincere people. They have faith in the Lord. They have faith in the scriptures. But you see how they don't have the sensitivity how to present it in a proper way so that the opposite person can benefit instead of antagonizing people. So discriminating Vaishnava is not an envious person. A Madhyama Adhikari's discrimination is not due to envy. So that also we need to understand. It doesn't mean anytime we discriminate, we say, oh, no, that my discrimination is not envious. We need to check our feelings. But when you see a Madhyama Vaishnava, when you see a preacher, if he has to discriminate for the sake of effective preaching, that should not be considered as envy. And Uttama Adhikari, now we are seeing, he is specifically empowered by the Supreme Lord. He can inspire and give success to the Madhyama Adhikari also. He can elevate the Kanistadi gradually to the immediate platform. He engages both Madhyama and Kanishta in preaching work. So in this way, Uttama has a greater ability to engage people in Krishna service. Is Mahabhagavad vision of seeing everyone as a devotee is illusion? Is it like a illusion or something? Because of Mahabhagavad, we saw many Uttama. If you see the Uttama in the previous slide was a preacher. He is engaging Madhyama and Kanishta in the preaching work. That means Srila Prabhupada is a good example. He is a Uttama, but he comes to the level of, for the sake of the welfare of the world, he comes steps down. But still he is a Uttama. Here, when the Uttama stays in his own Uttama space, where he only sees the world is already perfect, I don't need to do anything here. Is that vision an illusion? No. He is honestly experiencing, he can only Stavara Jangama Deke, Na Deke Tara Murti. He cannot see anything else, Stavara Jangama. He can only see Krishna. It's an actual realization, an actual state of consciousness. So though one's love for Krishna is now covered, can be gradually promoted to that stage. Everyone can go to that stage. One sees the world just as one sees himself. So because we don't have the ability, so we cannot believe that someone else can have that ability. So everyone is suffering the pangs of separation from Krishna. However, Uttama Adhikari sees he is actually having intense separation from Krishna. So another person is drinking, he thinks, yeah, this person is also feeling so much separation from Krishna. That's why he is actually engaging in these activities. Something like that. It's not like a made up thing. He honestly feels all the suffering in this world is because if I am suffering, others are suffering. I am suffering because of separation from Krishna. Others are also suffering because of separation from Krishna. So it's a deep feeling which is genuine that he has towards other people. Is it a theoretical understanding, seeing Krishna in everything? For a Madhyamadhikari or a Kanishtadhikari, it can be theoretical, but for a real Uttama, it's a Pratyaksha Vagamam Dharmyam. He actually can see Krishna in everything. Krishna, the threefold bending form, playing a flute with a peacock feather, he can see that form everywhere. So it's not a imaginary vision. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says how to deal with Kanishtadhikari. He is giving advice to whom? He is giving advice to a Madhyamadhikari who is on a higher platform than a Kanishta. Respect within your mind a person who knows that Krishna and his holy name are non-different. He is telling a Madhyamadhikari, an advanced preacher or an advanced chanter, that if he sees a Kanishta, he has to respect them. He may not bend down and offer obeisances to everyone because they are on a higher level spiritually, but that does not mean he deals with discontent. He has to respect them within their mind. And behavior of a Madhyamadhikari, he explains, the Madhyama stays away from non-devotees. And if a Kanishta is initiated, engaged in Lord's service, the Madhyama shows respect. The Madhyama respects the Uttama, recognizing him as a highly transcendently accomplished person. And the main thing is free from tendency to criticize others. Because the Madhyama sometimes, because he is engaging in the world, he has to criticize, and he sees this person is completely nindadi shunya. He has no tendency to criticize anyone for whatsoever reason. So in this way, he deals with three kinds of people. How to deal with different devotees in general. This is a generic instruction. One should respect within mind those who have accepted initiation from a qualified guru and chant Krishna Nam. One should respect those who have accepted initiation from spiritual master, who have developed an understanding of Sambandha Gyan, and who perform bhajan purely by offering pranam to them and so forth. This is what generally we do. We offer obeisances to everyone. At least in the devotional community, we offer obeisances because we understand everybody is sincere and engaging in bhajan and endeavoring to practice bhakti. So it is safe to just offer obeisances to everyone. Someone is super new and just coming up, still you can, if it will inspire him, you can offer, but at least in the mind you should surely have respect. You can't think, oh, this is a new person, he doesn't know anything. The best devotees are those who are devoid of the tendency to blaspheme others. So to this person, he is a Uttama, one should take shelter of that person, serve that person, and do everything, take full advantage of this person's presence and association. So the word, if you see Nindadi Shunya, that word Adi, Rupa Goswami says, he uses the word Adi, has been used after the word Ninda Adi, which means to criticize. So the commentary says we should understand this to indicate envy, aggression, and other faults that generally accompany the tendency to criticize others. Criticizing others is the mother of all the other bad qualities. So if it is there, then you can assume that everything else is there. Because there is envy, there is aggression, and so many other faults. That's why it is manifested as criticizing. So if the criticizing others is there, then you can safely assume all other qualities are there. If the criticizing others are not there, there is a good chance that all other things are not there. Otherwise, he can't hold. No one can hold themselves from criticizing if they have envy in the heart. It will come somewhere in some form. So we also have a bhajan from Sharanagati. So he says, "O Lord Hari, if I see someone who is free from bad associations chanting your holy name, whether he is initiated or uninitiated." So we may think, oh, it says only an initiated devotee should offer obeisances. It is whether initiated or uninitiated. If he is free from bad association, he is chanting your holy name, a Madhyamadhikari offers him within the mind. But if we consider ourselves Kanishta, we should offer obeisances. O Lord Hari, I offer my obeisances to a person who worships your lotus feet after being properly initiated. And I'll serve that exalted devotee who is expert in the science of unalloyed devotional service. So we offer obeisances and serve. I'll consider myself to be fortunate if I get the darshan of a devotee who sees all living entities with equal vision. This is a Uttama. Even if I get darshan, what to speak of is association and service, everything else. Just darshan itself, I'll consider myself fortunate. If I get his association, I'll think my life has become successful. My life has achieved perfection if I had that association of that devotee. When will I attain the mentality of treating Vaishnavas without duplicity? Because if I think I am great I am respectable and I am advanced, then that will stop me from actually taking advantage of a senior association. It will cause competition and superiority complex with equals, and it will cause disrespect with juniors. So in this way, my devotional service will be spoiled. So that's why, when will I give this duplicity of thinking myself as an advanced person? When will I cross the ocean of material existence and go back home to your abode, Vrindavan? So this is the final instruction. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says the most important instruction is do not envy devotees. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur warns that by envying any of the three classes of devotees, Uttama, Madhyama, or Kanishta, if there is envy towards any of these, one falls down to the platform of impersonalism and loses all power to benefit others or even himself. Therefore, those who are trying to advance in Krishna consciousness should not endanger their transcendental experience by unnecessarily criticizing other Vaishnavas. So, envy is a quality, but how it manifests is criticizing others. That way, he says, don't envy all the three. But when it comes to an action point, he says, unnecessarily criticizing other Vaishnavas. It needs guidance. What does it mean? Like, and there may be necessary, I said, like how Shukadeva Goswami is speaking, a guru may correct his student, a senior may, while engaging in service, he may instruct someone, correct someone, someone may commit mistakes, so then they need to be corrected. So if required for the sake of those services, one may actually correct. That can be considered criticizing, but that is not, because that is done for as a service. Unnecessarily correcting or criticizing, basically enjoying others' faults, celebrating others' faults, and feeling happy that this person has this fault, so I am better than him. So that is what is considered as bad. So he's saying that is a sign of envy, and that needs to be avoided at all cost. So thank you very much, Hare Krishna. What is the time? 5:15. I'm so sorry for having gone 15 minutes ahead, uh, more than what it's supposed to be. But 2 verses is difficult to cover. Have a lot of comments. Anyone has
Thank you,
questions?
Prabhu. Hare
There are a
Krishna.
lot of comments.
I have a question, but I think Paresh had a question a while back. I was going to let him go first if he still wanted to ask.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I actually sent a question in the chat. I ask it. So for this verse, right, what exactly Srila Rupa Goswami is making us understand by giving this classification? Because most of the time devotees stays to be humble, and then if I consider that in that context, then most of the devotees thinks that I'm Kanistha, right? So what exactly Rupa Goswami is trying to address us here?
The idea why a Madhyama is considered like a platform to come is because if somebody is new and he needs help, you are not self-absorbed thinking, oh, I'm humble, I'm just Kanishta. Nobody is concerned about who you are. Can you help this person? So that's what becomes important when you try to help someone. So if we have the ability to help someone, so we don't need to artificially think, oh, I am Kanishta, I don't have ability. We can do whatever we can do to help another person. So there we don't need to artificially assume. So a Madhyama does not artificially think when he comes in touch with a new person, oh, I'm a Kanishta, how can I instruct this person? Or everybody is equal, everybody is spiritual, they have the right to feel spiritual. All those things can be there. We can be sensitive, but still Madhyama will not shy away from presenting the right thing in a sensitive way. So that is why it's very helpful for us to understand, if I know I'm a Kanishta, still there are ways I can actually, means we don't need to put ourselves into a box, because these things are not being told us to either to put ourselves in a box or others. It's the whole thing is a very dynamic experience. We may be in some levels unable, some levels we may be able. So we just need to know how best I can serve Krishna, other people, and also personally advance in my bhakti. These verses can be used to understand where we are so that we can have the motivation to advance to the next level. And this verse can be used to understand who's higher than us so that we can take shelter of them. This verse can be used to understand who is lower than us so that we can help them. And this verse can be used to understand who is equal to us so that we can make friendship with them. That's the idea mainly.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And you also mentioned that most of the time we try to overestimate ourselves, right? So should we get an advice from the senior devotees where I stand as far as this three classification is concerned? Or is it something on your own self-judgment?
Some things are very obvious. And even if you just like say, for example, our ability to chant holy name, we should be able to, if we are honest, we should be able to understand how is our chanting, and also our ability to deal with other people, how good, all those things. Say, for example, you want to start a preaching project, then you can take guidance. Is it something which I can do? What I need? And even if we don't have, we will make some mistakes and we will learn. Some things are okay to take risk, but certain things are like too much to which will hurt our own devotional service and others' devotional service. So guidance will also be required, and personal self-awareness is also helpful.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
I'm not sure how much I answered your question, but I think with the time, I think.
Is it all right if I go?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a couple things we wanted some clarifications on. So what I'll start with is there's two sentences in the purport where Srila Prabhupada says, the Kanishta Adhikari is a neophyte who has received the Hari Nam initiation from the spiritual master and is trying to chant the holy name of Krishna. One should respect such a person within his mind as a Kanishta Vaishnava. A Madhyama Adhikari has received spiritual initiation from the spiritual master and has been fully engaged by him in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So I guess my question is, are these different kinds of initiations, or are they both initiated and the difference is that the Madhyama Adhikari is being fully engaged in the transcendental loving service?
Yes. So to be just objective, there are not different types of initiations. It's the same initiation because it's not that when you get initiated, oh, this person is Kanishta, I give him a certain mantra, this person is Madhyama. No, it means Kanishta or Madhyama, whatever, Guru gives the same mantra. And the idea is he's trying to chant the holy name. Kanishta is not still actually established in his ability to chant the holy name attentively. He's just trying. If he's sincere, he can easily come to the platform of Madhyama. But if you see in the Madhyama Adhikari, he has invoked a taste. He has achieved a level of taste that he can just continuously chant Hare Krishna. There is no question of today I'm feeling bored, I don't want to chant, should I complete my rounds, should I carry forward it tomorrow, maybe in next Ekadashi I'll chant 64. Like, no, he is not having all these kind of Vyuda Vikalpa. He is not having all these instabilities. He's fixed. There is no question of just chanting 16. If he has time, he will chant more, but he is fixed in what his spiritual master has given. He is very fixed. There is no shaky practice.
Okay, cool. And thank you very much. That helped a lot. There's a couple other things that in relation to what I just said. So one of the things Olga asked was if a Kanishta Adhikari is a neophyte who's received initiation from the spiritual master, does that make people without initiation lower than a Kanishta?
I already showed a quote of Bhaktivinoda Thakur in one of the slides. He clearly says in the bhajan actually, whether initiated or uninitiated. If somebody is taking to the holy name sincerely, whether initiated or uninitiated, they're coming into this category.
Okay, great. Thank you. That helps. And then I think finally, I remember you said something about we can fall under different classifications within the different levels.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you said that, did you mean that there's subdivisions within each level, or that, for example, I could be a Kanishta in regards to my faith, but I could be a Madhyama in regards to initiation or so forth?
So in terms of scriptural knowledge, someone may be, if you see the scriptural knowledge, Uttama Adhikari, it'll almost match another Madhyama definition in the other category. If you see the Uttama category as per the Bhagavatottama, who can see Krishna everywhere, probably that is not even coming in the radar of the Uttama Adhikari of the knowledge. So a person may be so expert in preaching and logic and scriptural knowledge and have the faith and convert others. Maybe his chanting level is still on the Swarupa level, Madhyama level. His chanting is not just by his presence somebody will chant or anything like that, or just his presence. So that's why I said there is no box. It's just a kind of based on certain things we can understand, okay, how advanced this person is.
Okay, cool. So one can be a Kanishta in some regard or a Madhyama in another regard. Okay,
Mostly
cool.
how it happens is you're Uttama in one level, you're Madhyama in another level. And or you're Kanishta in one level, you're Madhyama in another level, something like that.
Okay, cool. I think Olga wants to say something, so I'll stop there. Thank you so much.
So just to build on that, thank you for the explanation. That was actually very helpful about the levels being different depending on specific aspects of the practice. Is it actually accurate to say that there are different subdivisions within each of the three levels themselves or not?
What do you mean by subdivisions within?
So for example, a Kanishta Adhikari might be at the level of Kanishta within Kanishta Adhikari. They may be at a level of Madhyama within the level of Kanishta, and they may be at the level of Attama within the level of Kanishta.
Yeah, there is like that also is sometimes possible. There is Kanishta Madhyam, Madhyam and Uttam Madhyam and all these things also. I don't want to make our lives difficult. That is also there because it's that's why consciousness is dynamic. So within the Madhyama category also a person can be a new Madhyama, a kind of intermediate Madhyama and really established in the Madhyama platform and about to go to the next level like that. The same applies to Kanishta also. There is Kanishta, there is Kanishta Madhyama, and there is Kanishta Uttam. The same is there. Madhyama Kanishta, there is Madhyama, there is Madhyama Uttama. And the same Kanishta, Uttama Kanishta, Uttama Madhyama, and Uttama Uttama. I think Jiva Goswami mentions in some other place. But I'm not sure if he is mentioning for all these three categories, but I have heard these terms from Bana Maharaj. Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Lot of information.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Krishna.